The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Virtual Investor Forum. As usual, I'm your host, Dan Theok, Senior Vice President of Investment Banking. And today we'll be discussing Seprod Group Limited. And here with us is Richard Pandui, CEO of the group. Welcome, Richard.
A pleasure, Dan. Glad to be here. Good evening, listeners.
Glad to have you back after 2 years.
2 years and 9 months.
There you go. Can't make it be so long next time. And I'd like to give apologies for the absence of our CEO, Gary Parrott, and our chairman, Christopher Berry, who were unavoidably absent for this evening's event. Well, welcome, folks. Make sure to stay around until the end of the program, as we'll be announcing the winners from our social media giveaway, courtesy of Seprod Group Limited. Also, if this isn't your first time checking out our content, then hit the subscribe button. That way you'll never miss an upload again. Remember to hit the bell to receive all notifications, because we publish videos like this just about once a week. And if you're looking to embark on your very first investment journey, take that first step with Mayberry Investments Limited. You can follow us on social media to get started today. Okay, so as promised, I want to do my analysis of Seprod's results for the 9-month period. But before that, let's just tell you a little bit about the company. The Seprod Group companies has been around. Seprod Group of Companies has been impacting the Jamaican economy for 8 decades. Its roots are in the coconut industry, and since then the group has branched off into 9 food subsidiaries in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, the DOMREP, Dominica, Guyana, Barbados, and the Cayman Islands. Seprod Group was listed on the GSC in 1985 and has been a forerunner in distribution, export, and in manufacturing. Now, just a little bit about their CEO, Richard Pandui. Richard Pandui, CD, is the Chief Executive Officer of Seprod Group and of A.S. Bryden & Sons, Trinidad and Tobago. During his 9-year tenure, Richard has been privileged to guide Seprod through several transformative moves that have led to the value creation for all stakeholders in the group, positioned as a company and as a leader in respective spaces. Prior to his tenure at Seprod, Richard gained considerable exposure across multiple companies, brands, and countries. He's no stranger to us. He's a proud alumni of UWI St. Augustine, of McGill University, and the Wharton School of Business, so a real A-list of universities there. And today he returns to our investor forum to speak and provide some insights on the company. Again, Richard, I am honored to be in your company.
As you should be. I'm equally honored to be here.
Good to hear. And folks, we're going to jump into the results for the 9 months ended September 2023. Spoiler alert, I love the stock, but let me explain to you why I like the stock. And looking at the results, I think you guys will agree with me. Let me put on my glasses so I can see what I'm about to say. So first up, revenues for that 9-month period ended September 2023 were up by 60% to $82 billion. So next year, Richie, you need to get to $100 billion for the full year. That's your first assignment.
God, you sound like PB Scott.
Don't worry. First question will be about what's it like to work for PB. Gross profit up to $20.8 billion, up by 55%. And so they've done a great job of growing revenues by 60% and maintaining the gross profit margin, folks, at about 25%. So that's pretty impressive. Operating expenses were up by 65% to $15 billion. Operating profit up by 56% to $7.5 billion. And that sort of flows right down to the bottom line. Net profit, 51%. Net profit attributable to stockholders up to $2.77 billion. Total comprehensive income, $4.28 billion, up by 86%. For the 9-month period, they've produced an EPS of $3.78, which is up by 23%. Pretty impressive. Total assets up by 15% to $93 billion. So again, you got to break the $100 billion mark on total assets as well too. I want that by year end, though. We're not going to give it to next year for that one. So great to see that. Total assets at $93 billion with over $25 billion in working capital. So, pretty impressive. Um, Total liabilities up 14%. They've taken on some additional debt to do some acquisitions, but kept the debt levels very healthy. Net debt of about $30 billion with a gearing ratio of about 41% on a net debt basis. Debt to EBITDA less than 3 times, 2.5 times by my calculation, which is again pretty impressive and shows that you have reasonable levels of leverage.
Yeah, we're projected to end the year at around 2.8.
2.8 times? No, not as long as you're under 3.5 times. No complaints from me. So growing the business, growing total assets, growing revenues, growing the profitability, which is what we want to do. And when we look at the key stats, folks, we see the stock trading at $71, which is a PE of 12 times, which is, I think, about fairly valued for the growth that we've seen. But of course, I think next year, as we see interest rates coming down, PEs are going to go a bit higher. This stock has a lot more legs in it, in my opinion. Now, this is a stock, Richard, we discussed this back in 2018 when Mustin/Facey was doing the selling shareholder thing at $24. Stock was trading at about $27 at the time. Folks, just go back in time. This is like 2018. You could get the stock at $25. My average price was $29 back then. And 5 years later, stock price is up by 145% to $71. So that's a annual growth rate of 20%. So, kudos to you guys. That's what I call delivering value to shareholders. I only regret not buying more at $24. But the stock's done really well in the last 5 years. I mean, you could hardly complain. Trailing earnings at $4.2 billion, market capitalization at $52 billion. So this is a great stock to have in your portfolio. And what I like about Seprod is you can always count on them for some huge deal or big move, whether they're buying the pharmaceutical division for $53 million or they're buying an AS Bryden, which they did in June 2022. They just keep finding ways to keep growing the business and doing big deals. And we'll talk a little bit about AS Bryden. You bought that June 2022. You came back and you listed that pretty recently.
Right.
And so they're always working. Stellar board led by PB Scott and many others. I don't mean to offend. Melanie Sabratri, a great board, in general, led by a great CEO in the form of Richard Pandui. And some of you remember him from his days at Carreras. So this is a great guy who's been around the block. Great leader, great team. So it's just hard to bet against Seprod. This is something that you want to have in your top 10. Always going to give you good growth. Always going to be a good bet. These are the guys who, like the Phoenix, are bouncing back from a huge fire as well too, and they've just grown from strength to strength. And we'll talk about that. We see you reducing your third-party logistics costs through your new logistics center. So always finding a way to bounce back. Growing the business, export sales, I think up this period by 45% year over year. Last year in your annual report, export sales were up by 22% year over year. So you're finding ways to keep growing the business. And that's why I really like this stock. Next slide shows the profit by quarter. And you can see last 3 quarters how great it is. That quarter where they had to hit was where they had to fire, I believe, when you took a little hit there. But in general, you can see, guys, where this thing is going. A great, strong business. Growing from strength to strength. Next slide shows what's been happening with the stock price. It's been flat for the last year, right? End of the year, last year at 71, still at 71. Market in general has been down. But what I like about, again, the stock, 2018, they closed the year at $30. It's, it jumped to $50, and it sat at $65 for 2 years. Now it's been at $71 for the last 2 years. These guys keep finding a way to grow this business and keep delivering great returns to their shareholders. 60% growth in revenues, 23% growth in profit after tax attributable to the shareholders in the last year. I'm going to bet that they keep finding ways to grow the business and that the stock keeps growing by 20% per annum, certainly for the next 3 years. And for that reason, it's still in my portfolio. I'm not letting go of it anytime soon. I really like the stock. So those are my views, folks, my unbiased view of it. It's good to see PB holding on to 50% of the company, 49% through Facey and the group. Interesting partnership with Coconut Industry Board being your second largest shareholder, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I know that goes back to the days of how you guys got all those lands in St. Thomas, I presume. We remember when you closed down Golden Grove, a business, sugar business that just couldn't make a profit. In fact, was just making losses year after year after year. And I think after 3 years of giving it your best shot, I think in 2019, 2020, you guys decided to close that down, and it's just been smooth sailing ever since then. So just looking back at my notes, again, like the gross profit margin, I like the growth in the business, I like the profitability, really like the board. It's a great stock, guys. You should go get yourself some now as soon as you can. So that's my analysis. We got some Q&A that we're going to want to go through. And I think, Richie, you also have a presentation for us after
but after you just know that, I'd like to leave now. We're good.
We got some hard questions coming up to talk about the future. I want to know what it's like to work for P.B. Scott. He is a taskmaster. He once told me he sells bully beef. He's really a humble guy, but he's a great guy. Great guy. We love PB as well, too. And it's hard to find an individual or family that has that kind of pedigree. 6 companies, 7, when last I checked, listed on the stock exchange. So hard to bet against PB. Great. So I think we have a little presentation, and then Richie will come back with something.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that great introduction, Dan, to the Seprod business. Couldn't have it is so much better than I could. But I just want to spend a few moments with the listeners to just walk you through probably 4 or 5 slides about the Seprod Group, what we've been doing and how we project to do for the rest of the year. So the first slide I have up here is a performance evolution. Dan spoke a lot about that. So I kind of use a period 2019 to 2023 projected, and I'm projecting to the end of the year. I mean, that's November and December to add to the current results. So our revenue has grown by 47%. We're 114 million now. I mean, in US dollar term, we're going to be around 700 million or thereabout. Our objective is to be in the $1 billion mark.
I like it.
In 2 years or thereabout. So we want to be a $1 billion US company. That's what we're aiming for. Our PAT has grown 90%. Our CapEx, capital expenditure, with our investments, etc., has continued to be very robust. We're over $2 billion last year and this year. And of course, these are not linear. I mean, you're spending money this year that will materialize in another year or two. Our export revenue side, I like to separate this and talk about this because something that we have hold ourselves accountable, some big results, that's grown, projected to grow by 45% by the end of the year. So we're tracking very, very well, a $4.7 billion business. Our earnings per share, as Dan pointed out, has continued to evolve very nicely, coming from $1.46 and projecting at $5.65, a 93% increase. And how has that manifested itself when we deal with the stakeholders? From a stakeholder standpoint, we're rewarding our stakeholders. Our dividends, so Dan talk about the growth in the value of the shares, but we're also a very strong dividend paying stock.
Absolutely.
One of the best out there. Through thick and thin, through COVID or not, dividends are paid. So in 2020, we paid $1.30 per share. Last year, $1.50. Now, currently, up to now, we've paid $1.10 this year. We just sent a notice out to the Jamaica Stock Exchange that our directors are meeting on Friday this week to consider another dividend payment. So I'm optimistic and hopeful that our dividend payments for this year will also exceed last year. In terms of total dividend payout, we're now above $1 billion per year in dividend paid out to shareholders. An important stakeholder is our staff, our people. We want to talk about that too. We're paying over $5 billion per year now in staff compensation and growing through a combination of increased staff. We're now at 1,912 staff members, and also through improved value. Right. I mean, that's a reality. And another important stakeholder is the government. We want them to know that we're out there working very hard for them. Paying over $2 billion in taxes annually now.
Excellent.
So overall, you look at all the stakeholder groups, we are delivering. Now, in terms of our year-end projections, so Dan spoke about our last quarter release, which was the end of September. So I'm giving the projections now to the end of December. We expect revenue to end at $115 billion roughly, a 47% growth, gross profit growth of 60%, $35 billion. EBITDA, which is a very important measure in our group, in our proxy for cash flow, is around $11.7 billion, a growth of 50%, and our profit after tax, a growth of 89%, $5.53 billion. Now that I look at 89%, we really should have better and end at 90%, right? But anyway, that's our year-end projection. And in terms of next year, 2024, we're going out there and putting out our numbers. We'll always do this for you, Dan. I don't know why we do this for you. But in terms of our guidance for next year, we're projecting to have revenues of $131 billion, with a growth of 14% over this year. Gross profit of $41 billion, 17% growth, and a profit after tax of $6.72 billion, a 21% growth. So pretty much each quarter we should be hitting, we should be in the $1.5 billion range each quarter going forward. And this is some tough numbers. It's realistic, but with stretch. I mean, that's what we're here to do, to find value, to create value everywhere. And we believe that we have a great team of people. And, we're going to deliver those numbers. And we have a very demanding board too, very good board. They're guiding us properly. I mean, I have to say that, but they're pushing us. $6.7 billion, looking like a nice number out there, 21% growth.
Absolutely. And
then how we're going to deliver these growths. The last slide, the pillars to deliver the growth, they can't happen by themselves. We're going to continue to focus very much on export. Now, each year as the export rise, obviously a base increase, right? The percentage can be very misleading. But we still expect to grow export by another 30%. We're going to end up at around 50% growth this year against last year. But 2024, I'm probably looking at around 30 to 40% growth. We're trying to work out some of the numbers right here. For the brand investment, you have to invest in your brands. I mean, we're privileged, absolutely privileged to represent some of the best principals in the world, some of the best brands in the world, both on the food, merchandising, and on the pharmaceutical side.
Right.
And but we also have some great own brands. We have Surge brand, Chiffon, Gold Seal. We have amazing brands out there. Suppligen, it's an international brand.
Yes.
And we're going to make some serious investment in our brands to ensure that our brand health remains strong and grow. Because this is where a lot of your value is going to be extricated. I mean, we can't play hard in the commodity business. It doesn't support profitable growth. It's important, but your brands are what drive your value creation. Productivity. This is something I think Jamaicans have begun to have conversations around more and more. We can't sustain the type of compensation we need to pay our people to feel that they're in an environment where they're actually earning to support their families well if we don't have productivity increase. Everything about what we're doing is driving productivity, embedding technology to work alongside our people to create more output. Either using the same amount of people or less people. That's the reality. So we're driving productivity. Our target for productivity is that it should be ending at least half inflation. We need to get that type of growth. We're going to measure this every step of the way. We're looking at it and we want to drive for it. We talk about delivering people. I mean, COVID was such an eye-opener for many of us, right? You could have the best systems in the world, the best plans, the best project, nothing can be delivered out to people. And especially the people right throughout your system, your ecosystem, I keep saying that what COVID taught us that the society is turned upside down. We compensate people by qualification, not by contribution. When all our significant people were at home working from home, people at the factory had to go to work. People on the merchandisers had to go to work. The sales people had to go to work. There were no vaccines. And at Seprod, we committed to flipping to adjusting that pyramid, where we pay people and reward people by their contribution to value creation. And we're trying to do that. And we're trying to create an environment where people can be upskilled. And, especially in a period where there's a lot of discussion about immigration, now allowing people to come in. Because, with the low unemployment rate, and that's a good thing, it's good that we're in that place, there's a constraint on labor. And now people are saying, no, why should I come and work for you? What's your value proposition to me? We're trying to create that value proposition, upskill our people, get them certified, and help them to create value for themselves, for the company going forward. So big part of our focus is people. And of course, the synergy with brands. I mean, it's a major acquisition, the biggest acquisition in our group, and it presents so much synergistic opportunities. They are primarily a distribution company with a little bit of manufacturing, and we can replace a significant amount of their extra regional import with local production from Jamaica. That will be a huge driver for us. We're looking for the synergies and making sure we extricate them. So these are just some of the ideas. I mean, others that are not your distribution. We spoke a little bit about that. We're creating an integrated distribution system. The key word for us is velocity. Everything has to move faster. I mean, during COVID, all the companies had to invest a lot in additional stocks because of the supply chain constraints. Now that you have to be destocking and trying to release your cash flow, velocity becomes key. So, I mean, we're now focusing on a lot of that. So these are some of the pillars. I mean, I'll face any other questions from the listeners out there, but these are some of the pillars that will deliver the growth. So 2024, we're loading. We're looking good. And it's not a walk in the park. Growth, PB keeps saying something, growth is never linear. It comes with, things will not happen exactly the way you expect, but the trajectory that we have is one of growth, and we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to look for acquisition opportunities. It's funny.
Yep.
I was looking at the video that we did the last time, the interview.
Yes, yeah.
The last thing we spoke about, he asked about Trinidad. And so we're clearly looking at Trinidad. And I mean, I didn't know at the time, but here we are, it's a big part of our ecosystem now, a big part of our company. So we'll continue to look for acquisition opportunity to grow our business and to create value for all the shareholders.
Excellent. We look forward to working together with you guys because we think there will be some great acquisition opportunities out there. And you guys definitely know how to execute. So it's a pleasure to work with you wherever we can. Good deal. So, folks, I want to remind you again, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in, and we'll be getting to the questions in social media. In the meantime, I've got a few of my own that I want to ask. I mean, in the first one, I'm sorry to be a tad bit off script, but you have to tell me what it's like to work for PB Scott. I've been in many meetings with him. I consider him a friend, but he looks like a taskmaster. And to be juggling, 12, 13, 14 different companies. You guys had 12 board meetings last year alone, as an example. I mean, I can see this, folks, from reading the annual report, by the way. A lot of folks ask me, Dan, how do you get all of this information?
An unusual question, but I'll answer it. First of all, I'd say congratulations to the chairman on being awarded the Order of Jamaica this year.
Of course.
Very well deserved. His contribution to business and to growth, not just in Jamaica, but the region. The region is.
You guys are in 23 countries. Well, the Muslims group over 23 countries.
It's an amazing group. So congrats. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's what I like about the system we work in, and it's around the board. It's a great board. We have Brian Winter, we have Ron Mark Sumai, we have
Nick Scott,
Nicholas Jones, Chris Gentles from the Coconut Board, a couple of people. And, they're focused, and PB's focused on creating value. And I mean, we can agree to disagree. We have strong points, but it's a learned environment. And I mean, absolutely, I wouldn't be there. It's 9 years I've been there now. It's my longest job I've ever had. I never thought I'd work anywhere that long. And and I mean, it's what I like is that I'm learning. Even at this stage of my life, I'm still learning. And we're committed. We're really committed to the region. And I mean, it's not a socialist environment, it's a capital environment. We're looking to create value and create wealth. But we're doing it in a way that is beneficial to the collective ecosystem of the region and of our people. So, I keep saying it's a privilege to be at the Seprod Group, and it's a privilege to be the CEO. And I'm thankful. It's been a pivotal moment in my life to be here. It's been transformative. And I look forward to having the privilege for the board to continue to keep me in that position.
Excellent. One of the things I admire about PB really is that when you look at most of the company that he's involved in, it's not a situation where he always has 70, 80%, and it's only a small amount that's on the main market. So many of the companies that he has ownership in, they only own 40, 50%, 60%, whatever, and they leave a large amount on the market. So when he's creating value, it's not just for himself and his family, but for all of the stakeholders. And that's what I admire about PB, whether it's General Accident, whether it's Stanley Motors, whether it's Epley Caribbean. Most on Seprod are now AS Bride, and the story is, pretty much the same.
I'll go beyond that. You raise a point that I want to speak about. I mean, we like the idea of our employees being employee owners.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the Bridens listing that we just did,
Yeah.
54% of the employees took up share
Took up
offers.
shares.
54%.
Excellent.
That's an amazing vote of confidence.
Excellent.
When we did a similar thing at Seprod a couple of years ago, over 20% of the staff took up offering. And we keep, that's something we need to educate our people about. That the way to create wealth is not working every day and just getting a salary. You're going to have to make investment and go forward. And we want our people to invest in the company and to grow alongside the company. So absolutely agree with you there.
Excellent. And it's, it's a call to companies out there. A lot of people are afraid of listing on the stock exchange because they think people are going to know their business, and I don't want folks to know my business. But it's the greatest way to create generational wealth and to bring others along with you. You know what I mean? So it's a great way that he's giving back to the nation in the form of creating these huge, profitable companies and then allowing normal investors like myself to be able to tag along for the ride. So love that. A.S. Bryden, let's talk a little bit about that. How has that acquisition impacted you since June 2022? Let's talk a little bit about that acquisition.
Well, in terms of financial performance, the results have been obvious. I mean, it's in terms of revenue addition so we had it for 7 months in 2022.
Right.
It added around $28 billion to the revenue line. And for this year to date, I think it's about $46 billion has been added to the revenue line. So it's creating value.
It's like 50% of your revenue, you're saying, essentially.
It's pretty much 50% at this point is at Bryden's.
Good.
It comes with a really good team. I mean, so, you talk about addition of business, but as you grow, you need people, right? You need people capacity.
Absolutely.
And it comes with a really good team that's helping us to take us to another level. And overall, it's just we're very bullish on it. And I mean, we went into training with our eyes wide open, right? I mean, it has challenges. It has challenges, but we're very bullish on the environment. We're very bullish on our ability to negotiate the environment and to ride through this. And, you have to look for opportunities and everybody is running from it. And that's what we're doing.
And it's good to see us as in Jamaicans moving in that direction, because we've seen the onslaught of Trinidadian companies, Bayesian companies coming this way and acquiring Jamaican assets. So I'm really excited.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a Trinidad. We're taking a Caribbean perspective to this.
Agreed, but I'm sorry. Jamaica has the largest capital market in the Caribbean region, and I'm just saying it's good to see Jamaica focused on growing export revenues and deploying our capital in this way. So I am excited about that, and it's great to see other companies out there following suit, trying to find out how we can grow the businesses by expanding outside of Jamaica, because that's important, because Jamaica is only such a big market, right? It's hard for you to achieve $40 billion growth in Jamaica.
It's 2.5 million people with restrained income. I mean, We've done well. We have recovered a lot in the last few years, but the fact is, with a GDP per capita below $5,000 US, we are a poor country.
Absolutely, and so you can achieve 20% annualized growth year after year after year if you're limiting yourself to Jamaica only.
Absolutely.
So it's good to see you guys expanding even further. And forgive me, I particularly into Trinidad for me, it's great. Next question. You've achieved 29% growth in revenues in profitability in the last year. I mean, what are some of the strategic plans you have to ensure you can keep this growth going? I've seen your numbers for 2024, very impressive, but we're thinking medium term, long term. How are you going to keep the growth going?
Well, I mean, the one of the words to keep using, the words that resonate in Seprod is urgency, velocity, the momentum.
Got it.
And we need to keep striving. Now, we obviously are going to keep growing in the region. I mean, the CARICOM region is very complex, right? 16 countries with everybody feeling like the entire world revolves around them.
Yes.
And therefore, our regional move. So what we have done is not just to buy a company in Trinidad. We have now a footprint across the region. We're a regional player. So when you go to a global partner, we're saying to them, we'll take away the complexity of you handling every little country in the CARICOM. We'll do that job for you. We believe that taking away that complexity creates value, and it also, it creates value and brings profitability. And we're already seeing the benefit of that. They haven't started materializing the numbers yet, but we have actually signed several deals where both our Bryden's operation in Trinidad has benefited from relationship that we have in Jamaica and vice versa.
Excellent.
So that regional move is creating that impact. The second thing that we're doing is that we're going to continue to keep focusing on export, either our own or co-manufacturing.
Right.
the geopolitical situation and global complexities of the last few years have made people relook at nearshoring. And we're seeing more and more global players coming and looking for contract manufacturing in the region. We have signed a major deal with one company, the largest in the world in its field, and we are producing for them, and will continue to do so. This is a big deal. We're producing for them for the entire region. And our investment that we're doing is to bring us to a first-class standard where we can go and get these business. So co-manufacturing, export, definitely one of them. We talk about the distribution, and distribution not only for Jamaica. We're speaking about everything we speak about. You have to understand it's for the region.
Got it.
I mean, it's just hard for us to have a discussion only around Jamaica because we're so regional focused. I know we're creating an integrated distribution utilizing the technology base that we're privileged to have within the group, the Muslim group, PBS. So I mean, I spoke about that 2 years and 9 months ago.
Yep.
And we're now actualizing those discussions. You know, today I'm coming from Montego Bay right now. I met with new staff in Savlamar and Montego Bay and Trelawney. A lot of them are merchandisers, etc. And we're saying to them, they said, boss, we want to make sure we can earn more. I said, we want you to earn more.
Yeah.
We're going to earn more by working differently. Even merchandise I see out there, they're working with a tablet. Mm-hmm. Their orders will be on tablet, but real time to the distribution warehouse. That will be on a warehouse management system, real time to the trucks, real time out there, velocity. And that's how we're going to move the thing forward. So a lot of this will be based on just the productivity drive also. So a number of things happen. I mean, growth opportunity, the fastest growing economy in the world is Guyana. It'd be remiss of us not to be looking at Guyana in a very serious way.
Right.
So again, growth opportunity. So there's a number of pillars out there.
You're next door in Trinidad. So
and we're next door in Trinidad. I mean, the next time I talk to you, I'll be with a Guyanese accent, right? Hopefully.
Well positioned. I like it. Good deal. So outside of your recent acquisition, have there been any other major changes in your organization, and how have they impacted operations, and how do you expect them to impact operations going forward?
So there have been changes, positive and negative. Mm-hmm. I mean, and all of which have been learned experience. I mean, since our last conversation, we had the fire, which we have moved past now. We have now moved into our new distribution warehouse on Felix Fox.
Yeah. Tell us about that. So fire was in October 2021.
Right. Worst night of my life.
Yeah.
But
like the Phoenix, you have come out of the ashes looking good, man.
Yeah, we knew we were going to though. We knew we had to. There was never, I mean, as you went through the pain of that night, there was never any point that we knew that we weren't going to recover better. I mean, so we're moving along there, and we keep calling it a campus because we create an environment that's different from just a warehouse. We also had the incident that one thing with Seprod, you don't have to worry about transparency.
Yes.
We put it out there.
Yes.
We had a major fraud shortly after.
Over 16 people involved?
25.
25, yeah.
I mean, major learning experience. It happened at the worst of times, but I mean, again, part of the system, putting the right system. It's not that our systems fail, it's just that we had a fire and we were exposed.
Right.
But we're better at that. But I mean, in terms of other changes, the acquisition is a major change.
Right.
The rest of the stuff is, we've always been on a journey. And we keep saying this, that journey. I mean, you can't look at Seprod from a year to year. Mm-hmm. We have stated our journey in a very transparent way. We've been speaking about the journey, and we're actually making sure it happens. So, I mean, again, the growth won't be linear. It's going to come sometime in peaks and a little bit of gap here and there, but the trajectory is to keep growing. But that's it for now, I mean, in terms of the thing. But obviously, Brian's overshadowed everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's significant. And
again, it was 100 years old 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Brian's group.
Oh, I didn't realize it.
100 years old.
And very strong in Trinidad itself as well, too. So
I mean, it's a part of the fabric of Trinidad.
Yeah. Yeah. Good deal. So we can look forward to growth, whether organically or through acquisitions. And we know you're
both.
Both. And
but organically and through acquisitions.
And you spoke to technology a bit too, so that you guys are going to definitely try to use technology.
No, we are using technology.
To improve productivity and whatnot, yeah?
I mean, this is something that the Jamaican companies, Caribbean companies are going to realize that we can't compete if we're not competitive on the productivity front. It's just impossible.
Yeah. It's the story of Jamaica, even at the macroeconomic level, right? The only way we're going to truly improve that GDP per capita is to focus on productivity. And when you consider that unemployment, at least the official figure, is as low as it is, it just makes that point even more, right? That we have to improve productivity.
Yeah, you can't legislate. You can't legislate well to.
No.
I mean, really. I mean, overall.
No, agree.
You have to create the environment for production. I mean, driven by productivity and wealth creation, and that's how you create wealth.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, we're kind of having it a little bit confused right now.
Yeah, I agree. But it's, I think, I'm really excited, I'm sure you are too, about the prospects for the economy, right? With interest rates likely to come down in the next 3 to 6 months, the debt to GDP coming down. You understand the macroeconomics, what's happening. It's a great time to be in business in Jamaica, I believe. It's a great time to be trying to access capital to grow your business, to retool. And productivity is really key to all of that. And so, for those reasons, I think it's hard to bet against the Muslims group of which you form a part in Seprod.
Right. I mean, in terms of our forecast going forward, from Seprod standpoint, we don't see the interest rate changing actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we think there are a lot of other headwinds happening and going on around. That will probably, I don't see it increasing, but we don't see it declining. We think it's will hold steady.
Yeah, we should have that conversation again in 6 months. Certainly the way the folks access capital from the capital markets, I think, is going to change because
definitely.
the government itself is going to be reducing its cost of borrowing, and we've got a big $1.25 billion US dollar bond that they're going to be renewing within the next 30 days, and you're going to see that happening. And I also don't think the central bank is going to keep paying 8% on 90-day treasury bill rates. That's not going to be something they're doing in 6 months' time. And so the capital markets tend to queue off of these relatively high interest rates. So I can't raise money at less than the GOJ. So I'm excited to see the government of Jamaica reducing its cost of accessing funding as it reduces its debt to GDP ratio over the next 6 months. And I think the capital markets will certainly follow that. So I think we're agreed in that regards. Tell me, what challenges has the company faced in its supply chain side of business, and what measures have been instituted to address that, and how do you see that sort of playing out into next year?
I mean, so the supply chain situation post-COVID has continued to be challenging, right?
Yeah.
But it's challenging for everybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're on the same playing field, and it changes. For example, at this moment, the supply chain that's affecting us is really what's happening with the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
Between the protests in Panama and the drought there, they're reducing the number of ships going through. The price to go through is going. That's going to translate to higher costs in the operations, right? So those things are happening every day. And I mean, the truth is that we look at it and we have accepted it as a normal part of the business operations now, and just kind of continue to move with that. I mean, where we have to be careful of is that there's a phenomenon happening now we call destocking, right? So if you take, for example, our export to the United States on certain products, like Suppligent, would have gone up quite significantly during COVID. But then COVID stopped, the demand normalized, and your distributors are left with stocks. They start destocking, so it affects your sales.
Exactly.
Same thing is happening on our side for principals that we represent. COVID, you wanted to have stock. That was a priority.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to bring your stocks down from 3 and 4 months back down to 2 months or a month and a half.
Yeah.
But that affects somebody's performance.
Yeah.
So you have to be managing that. So those are some of the things that's happening, some of the challenges. I mean, it's we speak, there's a lot of conversation around labor constraint. It's not so much the absence of labor in some cases, but the absence of the labor that's qualified to do the work that we're trying to get to. So I mean, those are some of the constraints. But overall, I mean, it's you know what? It's part of life. I mean, at the end of the day, we still live in a region that is primarily void of any massive issues outside of Haiti that are affecting us also, our export business in Haiti. And I think that we have more opportunities than we have challenges, and we continue to focus on that. It's interesting, though, we speak about geopolitical issues. And one that is facing our region now is the situation between Venezuela and Guyana.
Yeah.
Not to be dismissed. I mean, in terms of its potential impact on slowing down aspects of the Guyanese economy, while people, see clarity on the way forward. So the world has just become very uncertain, very volatile, and it creates opportunities and it creates risk. That's what it is.
Yeah, and what I think is you guys are certainly well positioned to take advantage of that. I mean, with $5 billion of cash and leverage as low as 40%, and you guys aren't afraid to make big bets and do big deals, I do think that volatility will bring more opportunities.
Yeah, and I mean, what we do is creating a resilient organization, a resilient organization that is not afraid to take up opportunities. So it's a good combination.
Good deal. And so that's a good sort of segue into me asking this question about how has the current economic climate affected demand and therefore, and also your product prices. So between the
The-
logistics and the
This is specific to Jamaica?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I mean, there's clearly disposable income challenge on one level. And you see people trading down
Yep.
in some aspects. I mean, Jamaica is really a very difficult economy to realize. And I mean, it's but people, there's cash out there.
Yeah.
There's clearly cash out there, and people are spending, but people are spending less. I mean, very often you go to a supermarket or to a shop and you see people put their groceries, and the cashier is checking and they're holding back stuff, right?
Yeah.
And in many cases, things are left behind. So that is indicative that people are challenged to meet their stuff. I mean, there's a definite affordability issue. What we have done, what the Seprod Group had committed from the get-go, very publicly, is that we said that we are going to work with our consumers, because price in Jamaica is sticky,
Yeah.
Price go. We have every reason to put a price,
Yes.
and then when the price is to come down,
Problem.
everybody just disappear, right? So there's a lack of trust between consumers and business, because they're saying why price can only go one way.
Yeah.
So we committed to that. In fact, I'm on Twitter posting price reductions, right?
Yeah.
No, in many cases, not all the channels are passing on the price we give to them. That's a different discussion. We're going to have to find a way to get around that.
Right.
But we have been making sure as prices come down, we're adjusting, because everything we do is geared toward creating value and an opportunity for somebody to buy it. If nobody can buy it or can't afford to buy it, we're not in business.
Right.
And so that is, we're not being Mother Teresa here. We're just being practical. So we're trying to work to make sure our prices are affordable. I think often also in Jamaica and the Caribbean, in years gone by, people are accustomed to just passing on price increases to consumer. We have had significant increase in insurance costs, in security costs, and we have data protection act coming. We have 10 million regulations.
Yeah.
But we can't pass that on to consumers. We have to look within the companies and find the opportunity to reduce the per unit cost.
Yep. So that's the whole productivity.
And that's the whole
argument.
productivity drive we're doing.
Yeah. That makes good sense. And so we see you expanding. We see you taking on a bit of debt. But again, I think the business has robust working capital, low levels of leverage. But specific to the debt that you've taken on, I think you've grown your debt by about $3 billion.
You're at around 33 billion now, I
Yeah,
think.
we see you running like $2 billion of capex. We talked about the capex, and that's going to help drive growth in the future, obviously. So can we talk a little bit about the capex and
Right. So, but on the debt side first, I mean, I think many times Jamaica you're debt, and I think it's a bad thing. Debt
Yeah.
is a great thing when you're growing a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as your weighted average cost of capital
Yeah.
is competitive,
Yeah.
and your acquisitions are value creative,
Yeah.
then you're ahead of the game. I mean, that's how you grow business, using debt, right? And in our case, what we do, we look at cash flow like it's a religion. One of my greatest takeaway from working with this group is about just truly appreciating cash flow.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Absolutely.
So, we're not worried about the debt. We're very comfortable. End of the year at 2.8 net debt to EBITDA, very, very comfortable.
very comfortable.
In terms of the capex, a lot of it is around improving the technology especially the factories. We just spent, a very painful year in our Caribbean Products Limited, the oil and margarine plant.
Yeah.
Literally rebuilding a new margarine plant, which is not only allowing us to do the products we would have done in the past, the favorites out there like the Gold Seal and Chiffon. We're now going to a whole new category of dairy-based products, things that we could never do before. And this is just going to create a whole slew of innovation and product potential we could not have touched. We've gone from people in a very manual way to, sitting by the computer and just doing everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny. The biggest challenge we've had with that is just the transformation of our people. It's hard to suddenly believe that you can run a factory and you don't have to, boss, when I thought that we and I move something, I saw inside a computer and, people being supposed to work hard and they're supposed to sweat and move, and we're like, I want you to sit in a computer chair, look cool like Sunday morning, and go home looking the same way, right? Factory must just run.
Work smart, not hard.
Work smart, not hard.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a major capex investment we have done. We continue to invest in the dairy facility. And in fact, we're very proud to say that in this year, 2023, we had significant amount of supplement volume being produced outside of Jamaica in Trinidad. That was repatriated to Jamaica, all of it.
Nice.
Every single supplement that's sold in this world now is coming out of our Jamaica factory in Bogwalk. Very, very proud about that. Our people are doing an amazing job with that. And so we continue to look at those, and everything we do now is around, okay, so we can produce this amount now per hour. what technology allows us to triple that.
Yeah.
And to move forward going in that space. So that's where most of the technologies, and of course, a lot of it is around, I mean, we're investing a lot now in cybersecurity. I mean, it's, it's been unfortunate, so much of our counterparts in Jamaica and across the region have been affected by cyber attacks and difficulty in coming back up after that. We're making sure our systems are robust, doing whatever we have to do. So those are some of the things that we're working on.
Good deal. You mentioned dairy. We talked about Orange Grove, closed that down in 2021. You must have 4,000 acres of land out there in St. Thomas. What's happening out there? Is that where the dairy is going to be? Tell me a little bit about the dairy business and
excellent question. So, I mean, the dairy business represents our commitment to agriculture and agro-processing more than anything else, right?
Yes.
And it's not easy being in the agriculture business. I mean, it's I mean, we'll lose money on that farm. I mean, 1 minute is too much sun. The animals are suffering heat stress, like I could never believe. Next minute is too much rain. Like you can't ever find you just can't find a point where those things can just run,
Yeah.
And but it's important. It's important for the country. It's important for the business that most of the manufacturing in Jamaica is what I call low complexity addition of products.
Yeah, so the value add is difficult.
Yeah, 90% of most of the factories in Jamaica, their inputs are coming from outside, buying US dollar. The dairy business being integrated as it is one of the few in the region like that. We believe that we're looking at Golden Grove to relocate our dairy facility potentially, and also to use for growing of feed. One of the biggest challenges facing farmers in Jamaica in general is the cost of animal feed.
Yep.
It is phenomenally high.
Yep.
I mean, and we believe that we could grow a lot more. I mean, we can grow the corn here, we can grow soybean for the animals. So that's what we're starting those projects. I mean, first crop of corn didn't go well because the rain came, but we're going to go again. I mean, I'll keep going, but so that's the plan for that side of the world.
Yeah, and I like to hear that because, I mean, I do want to hope that we can find a way as a nation to make manufacturing work. And with your expansion, I mean, you've gone more into distribution. So something like 80% of the business is now distribution and maybe only 12% manufacturing.
Yeah, but you can't really look at it like that because so much of the manufacturing then ends up in the distribution.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's integrated.
Okay.
It's creating value through the thing. I mean, it's if you were to take out the manufacturing, the distribution suffers.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, search, for example, is a significant part of the business. We have to have the factory, have to have the farms, to have the product. So I think that the acquisition of Bridens is also driving growth in the manufacturing space, and you're going to see that in the results going forward.
Great. I look forward to that because it's a space that I do think, we have to try to see how we can find work. We can't all just be traders, if you know what I mean. So I'm actually happy to hear that clarification, and I'm excited about seeing what you guys do in the dairy space and with all of that land that you have untapped. Your expansion in your new logistics center that you mentioned, that was financed by a group of the members. I don't think I saw the CapEx driving that expansion. How did you finance that particular new facility?
So that was a plan for expansion. A lot of it came from cash flow.
Okay.
A lot of that came from cash flow.
Good.
So, I mean, it's we did it over a couple of years.
Right.
I mean, it's a good project. And it's we've relocated a lot of the staff in Kingston to that location.
What's the new location?
It's on Spanish Town Road. Right there. I mean, our next move is obviously we want a distribution center on the North Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, the food service business, servicing hotels and restaurants, that side is phenomenal. And there's huge opportunity there. So we're looking at that as our next move. But outside of Jamaica, we're doing a $30 million warehouse, a warehouse system in Trinidad. So we announced that. We have actually did the tenders. We have selected people. And that project gets going. We turn soil next month on that.
So, in my mind, there are going to be huge opportunities to do manufacturing out of Trinidad where the costs are just so much lower than Jamaica, energy costs in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I certainly think there would be some synergies in that regard. You and I know energy. We've talked about it a lot in the years gone by.
And that's the beauty of the Seprod business, too. I mean, it's now going to be diversified in many ways, right? I mean, it's we're going to look at opportunities in Trinidad for manufacturing. Definitely, Guyana is one to look at also.
Absolutely.
I mean, Guyana has so much space, so much agricultural opportunities. So, I mean, our play is regional.
Yeah.
And wherever the opportunities are in the region to create value, we're going to look at it.
It kind of reminds me of the Careers play, right, where they sort of moved from manufacturing into Jamaica, outside of Jamaica, but kept it in the group.
I don't know much about that company. All my life I've been at Seprod.
All 9 years of your life.
All 9 years of my life I've been at Seprod.
Good deal. So we got 10 minutes to go, and the guys got a few questions, Richie. So let's take some from the folks online. In no order, guys, forgive me. I see you there, and I'm going to get to as many of them as we can. So first one I'll take is from Jerome. Will Seprod do an equity raise to replace some of its debt? So that's just Jerome asking the question.
So first of all, I think we're very comfortable with our debt, and nothing is wrong with debt.
Yeah.
And at our last AGM, the were given the approval.
Yeah.
To release other shares if we had to, the opportunity to turn up. And so, at this stage, I don't see us using any equity raise to lower debt. We can lower debt from our business that we're generating. We're very comfortable.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So when you're, debt to EBITDA is under 3 times and you've got good working capital, there's nothing wrong with a little leverage, right?
Nothing.
The worst thing you want to do is create more shares.
It's
reduce your EPS.
It's all about your WACC. Remember your finance classes, guys.
100%. Good deal. Next one comes in from Philip Burgess, and he says, can we expect to see Mondelez or Cloverleaf taking an equity stake in the company?
Oh, Mondelez and Brunswick. He's talking about Brunswick. They are great partners. In fact, I'm proud to say that last week, the Brunswick organization recognized Facey Jamaica as their #1 distribution partner in the Caribbean. We are their largest export business, by the way.
Nice.
So that's huge. It's Mondelez is it's Mondelez, a huge company, Oreos, those type of things.
Yeah. Okay.
We can't speak to their strategic plans, but we'll continue to be the best partners we can be, and we want to be #1 for them in the entire region and beyond. Our next move is Central America and Latin America, so we want to do really well here so they can give us the space there. Excellent.
Well, thanks for that, Philip. He's always got some insights there, so that's one that I didn't even see, so it's good to see that. Earnings seasons, with Seprod growing regionally and strong synergies with Mondelez, how open is the team to an equity-linked supplier partnership? So wait, this is another similar question.
Do they know something I don't know?
Maybe the recognition that you guys
I don't know. Again, great partners. We're going to keep working at it, but I'm not aware of any such conversation at this point in time.
You're not struggling to raise capital at all, so I think you'll be quite fine. Next one comes in from Javon Russell. Is Mr. Pandui in previous interviews said that shipping costs has affected his bottom line. To what extent has that improved or gotten worse?
So for sure, shipping costs came down post-COVID. You remember shipping out of Asia was 15,000 US a container, back down to below 2,000 US a container. So, but a lot of the gains that the benefits of the reduced price were actually eaten up now by things like increased insurance, increased security, increased etc. So what it allowed us to do was to cushion those impacts.
Right.
And obviously we had some changes and we have passed those on. Not just a change in shipping price. Some commodities came down, some remained very high and went up even higher. But we have been balanced it in terms of the price. But clearly that has helped us, because if it wasn't for that, then things like the additional costs we talk about would have had a detrimental impact on our performance.
Good deal. And another good question coming in here now, this one from Fitzroy Adams. Does Seprod have any plans to increase its stake in AS Biden from its current 54% stake?
I think that is yes.
Okay. Just a matter of time, yeah?
Just a matter of time.
Good deal. And someone's asking a question that I too would be curious about. Is the difficulty in getting US dollars out of Trinidad going to be a problem? And will we be less exposed to that being a subsidiary of Seprod now? So the fundamental question is...
That's an excellent question. Yeah. It's, again, we went in with our eyes wide open.
Yeah.
The sourcing of foreign exchange in Trinidad has been a challenge and continues to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And we're navigating around it. We're using our size to make sure we have some cushion, and there it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. There's no question about that. But we went in knowing that this was a challenge we had to mind. So yes, it's a difficult situation, but we believe that Brian's is a great buy. Already after being listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, we have seen significant appreciation. I think investors out there agree with us.
Yeah.
And overall, we're bullish on Trinidad. Life is a cycle. One day they'll get out of this stuff.
Right. Well, it's a good asset, good acquisition, great price, I think. So I think it's just a matter of time. And I mean, it's as strong as the dividends are. I mean, from a dividend yield perspective, it's still sort of relatively small. So I think the best value creation from folks will be in the share price.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think it's going to create a lot of value for the business in terms of profitability and therefore the share price. So I think that's great. I think we have time for one or two more. So Jerome asks, are there alcohol beverage brands that AS Bryden offers that do not overlap with any exclusive deals that the local spirits distributors have? And can you speak to that?
I feel like Jerome work with us. I mean,
These guys are sharp.
Yeah, so a big part of Bryden's business in Trinidad is what we call premium beverage.
Right.
They are the representative for Moet Hennessy, Diageo, huge part of our business. And they carry other portfolio brands. So yes, everything that we do is focused on the region. When we look at Bryden's, if we see a gap in Jamaica, that will allow us to widen our footprint, we're going to take it. If that involves being in the alcohol beverage space, we will.
Right.
And already in Seprod, we actually launched a variant of Suppligent called Suppligent Stout.
Okay.
Yeah, which is our first alcoholic mix we've ever done. And it's doing really, really well. People have actually liked it. And so, the one thing with Seprod, we're going to experiment. We're going to do things, and we're going to make decisions quickly.
Right.
So, I mean, to answer Jerome's question, yes, we'll look at the opportunities, and we're looking at the opportunities, and also to find partner opportunities. Seprod has grown by having the right partnerships also. Our principles are important to us. You look at the mill, that's a partnership with Seaboard.
Yeah.
You look at the dairy facility, that's essentially a partnership with Nestle in many ways. I mean, you look at the margarine plants, that's a big partnership. I can't disclose the name of the company right now, but, it's all partnership, find the right partnerships.
Good deal. And that's another important point. I think from a regional perspective, when you acquire strong brands in Trinidad, it gives you the opportunity to grow that throughout the region, because sometimes somebody may only be in one country or two countries, and you guys are in 12 or 13.
I'll give you a classic case on the pharmaceutical side.
Sure.
We're FACE Pharmaceutical is Pfizer's representative in Jamaica. In fact, it was Pfizer's first export business in the world was to FACE, believe it or not.
Really?
As a result of that relationship, Bryden Pie, which is our pharmaceutical division in Trinidad, is now the representative for Pfizer.
Excellent.
And actually tendered for government. So that is a clear case of the synergies from the relationship and the regionalization.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. I apologize, guys, if we can't get to any more questions still coming in. Sorry, Nathaniel Pandui.
Sorry. Nathaniel, go to bed.
It's not that late, man. Nathaniel.
No, you should be studying. That's cool. Look forward to seeing you for Christmas, son.
Good deal. Welcome aboard. Well, folks, that's it. But as promised, we'll now announce the winners of our giveaways. In fact, they'll be shown in the description in the video. So congratulations to those folks who won those great gifts courtesy of Seprod Group. And that's it for today's discussions. As usual, I'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in. Your support is always appreciated. Real big thanks to Richard for coming in again.
Absolute pleasure.
Don't stay away so long.
It was a good time.
Absolutely.
Come back in 2 years.
No, you got to be back next year. 1.5 million per quarter. Remember, to our viewers, be sure to look out for our updates for our virtual investor forum by following us on social media. We share all things forum related on our social media pages. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited. Remember to keep safe, folks, and remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.